Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So, it looks like we're in for some shortages. We're talking about the bread, we're talking about the flour, in fact, we're talking about all the bread goods, and of course, potentially, we're talking about the rationing of those products. And you might think, Anna, what on earth are you talking about? Well, news just in. Farmers are finally actually taking action. If you follow the channel, or generally if you follow the whole farming industry, you know that the end of last year, when the government introduced the inheritance tax, a lot of farmers kicked off because it's basically having a lot of effect on the farmers. And a lot of farmers were saying that it's possibly not going to be sustainable to pay the tax, so they'll be giving up farming altogether. We already know, right, that the government's agenda is to get rid of the farming in UK because government thinks it's a good idea to import a lot of goods from different parts of the world. Again, at the same time, we're also aware that it's not very sustainable. It only takes you just to have a look what's been happening in Spain with the fresh produce. If you have a look now, there's very little in our supermarkets nowadays actually from Spain. All the most things that we used to get from Spain are now coming from different countries. This is not the point of this video. This is just the point to say we are, as an island, relying on the imports. And government, rather than promoting the farming in this country, wants to get rid of the farmers and promote imports from different countries. So all of this, as a main, been really irritating farmers. And again, they've been doing some strikes last year, beginning of this year, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, government's refusing to back down. And what it looked like when we spoke to Mark, the bowler hat farmer as well, we discussed this and we thought, well, other farmers, they've gone quiet. Are they actually planning something? Or are they just going to brush this under the carpet and totally not do anything about it because they see there is no end, there's no light in the end of the tunnel? Well, what do you know? Finally, this is actually happening. So, what is actually happening? So, the farmers or farmer union, whoever's organizing this event or the strike, basically encouraging the farmers that produce milling wheat not to let it exit the warehouse. So, from as yesterday, 1st of April, there's going to be a lot of farmers that are not going to let the wheat exit the warehouse. Okay, this is going to be happening for 2 weeks. Could you imagine, right, after 2 weeks of no wheat coming out from the warehouses, can you imagine what's going to be happening in the shelves? And this is not just me saying, right? We apparently produce 84% of the wheat that our farmers produce. It actually produces the baked goods and flour in this country. So if this is not happening for 2 weeks, farmers say there are going to be huge shortages. What's also happening as well, because not all of the farmers are wheat farmers in this country. There are farmers that produce meat and that kind of thing, and they do want to participate in the strike, but obviously not able potentially to go to London and protest. So they also been encouraged now to, you might not agree with that, to clear the shelves in the supermarket, right? If we're talking about clearing the flour, clearing the bread, that kind of thing, because they want to create a scene, so you wish. But hear me. The whole idea, and some people are already doing this, some farmers are already doing this, they're basically buying out the bread and all the goods, and then they're giving away to people in the community because they don't want people in the community to suddenly hate farmers. It's always been that little divide. There are people that stand behind the farmers all the time, and then the people like, well, if you take, the bread or take the food off our plates, that kind of thing, people are going against the farmers. So this is a little bit controversial thing, but okay, and we can hear obviously your opinion, guys, in the comments down below. But generally, some farmers already been doing this. They've been buying out the bread and giving them away in the local villages to local people because they don't want people to go against the farmers. Because again, there are a lot of people, like elderly and dependent people, that do rely on the basics like bread on a regular basis. They don't want those people to go without. So again, this is a little bit controversial because they're also telling us as an average people to go and basically stockpile your flour, your bread, whatever you want. And the idea they're doing this because they want to create that shock effect, okay? Because like me and you and people that genuinely understand what has been happening in the farming industry and in general with the economy, that kind of thing, they understand that the food comes from a farmer's majority of it. And there are some people there that are totally oblivious where the food comes from. So unless you have this shock effect when you suddenly go to the supermarket and you can't find the bread and you go like, why is that? Why can I not get bread or hot cross bun, that kind of thing? People then start thinking. And again, the farmer guy said that, well, if we get to this stage, then maybe people go to the supermarket, can't find this. Maybe just something ring down there in the head to actually realize, let's question this. And at the same time, he also encourages those kind of people to get in touch with their local MP, because I think the more people they'll get in touch with the MPs and tell them, look, there's no food available, what's going on? Let's actually do something about it. So the point is, so from 1st of April, which is yesterday, I know this is not April's full joke, for 2 weeks, majority or a lot of the farmers are not going to be letting the wheat out. So there will be shortages and potentially there will be rationing. That's just not me saying this. This is common sense. And this is what the farmers are saying. They're not just saying it's going to be happening a little bit. They are doing this. It's already scheduled. It's already happening. And the reason as well, before there was some sort of, when the farmers saying, oh, we're going to be striking on this date, 2 months now from now, that kind of thing. They've kept this quiet. They kept this quiet until the last minute. And the reason that they've done this, because they didn't want retailers to profiteer from what's happened. If you look back at any time the farmers said I was going to be shortages of this or that, inevitably retailers, supermarkets decided to either hold back some food and release that gently or increase the prices. So to get more of the effect from the strike, they decided to not to tell people publicly this is what they're doing, but do this absolutely last minute to the day. A bit sneaky, but I think it's a good shout. So nonetheless, right, the whole thing, guys, it is controversial a little bit in terms of point of, clearing up the shelves and that kind of thing. So I would like to hear what you think. So please, of course, guys, comment down below and see, do you think that people are going to be sticking around with farmers, or people now think this is a little bit of a step too far? And on the other note as well, of course, if you're a prepper and you probably have tons of the flour in your back cupboard, then of course you don't have to do anything about it. If you're not a prepper and you have a little bit of a gap in your shelf of the flour and in fact maybe bread in the freezer, maybe a good idea to pick up a loaf of bread for the freezer and a couple of bags of flour just in case. Of course, I do not encourage you to stockpile because that otherwise will create the panic, but if this is the kind of effect you want and you agree with the fact that this needs to be done to get the message out there, then please be my guest. I'm not there to tell you what to do. Otherwise, anyway, guys, well, thank you for watching. Please comment down below your thoughts, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye-bye.